Hello. Hi. Welcome. Here I am. I'm here. Um, yeah, here we are. I'm making pizza. Reason I'm making pizza is I have a blob of dough. So again, pre-made pizza dough. I really like these pre-made pizza doughs. But also, there was a deal where if you buy string cheese, you get a discount on gas. So I bought some string cheese, but I probably shouldn't just eat all this string cheese straight. So I'm gonna attempt to make stuffed crust pizza with the string cheeses. Um, it's smoked string cheese. Now, string cheese is typically mozzarella that's been pulled rather than balled up, which is where the strings come from. And then they cut them into segments and then cool them, and you can pull the strings off. That's generally how you make string cheese. So string cheese is usually mozzarella. Sometimes I think it's provolone. Um, it's a cheese in that family of cheeses, sort of an unaged, mild, stretchy, stringy cheese that melts well. Perfect for doing something like dipping it in batter and deep frying it and having a cheese corn dog or stuffing a stuffed crust pizza. Um, so that's the plan there. And then I was going to just make a pizza for the rest of it. But as I was standing here, just during the wind up for the first ad play there, I was looking at what I've got and I think, boy, could we make like a weird stir fry on top of a pizza thing instead of just a plain old normal pizza? That might be interesting because the things I've got on hand are like mushrooms, bok choy, different kind of mushrooms, onions, green onions, the dregs of some miso that I really need to use up. So we could like do a combo thing. I could maybe throw some shrimp on top. I've got some shrimps. Just it just struck me. We could do like a. And something I was doing a little bit of googling on the side here, literally during the minute ago. And it's also not a thing that I see very much. I've done like a fried rice pizza where I made fried rice as the crust, but then I built a normal pizza on top of it. And I've also made things where I take like pizza ingredients and cook them in a stir fry type way or in a curry. I made the pizza curry. That one was great. It was pizza flavors in the shape of a curry, which was delightful. So what if I flip flop this and change my title even and make a stir fry on top of a pizza? I think I like this. I think I like where this is going. Okay. 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 I think that's what we're doing. Okay. So, shall I say okay some more? In that case, we need to start prepping out some ingredients. Now, I'm not sure if I should stir fry before I put it on probably part of it, but not the whole thing. Hmm. Hmm. Some of these things you would just put on a pizza raw and they would get cooked by the actions of baking the pizza. Uh, so we've got mushrooms, different kind of mushrooms. bok choy, green onions, maybe carrot. I'm going to scrape whatever's left in here out and try to make like a miso-based sauce. God, what else have I got? Ginger. Onion, although with what else is going on, perhaps red onion for the color? Yeah. Red onion for the color, since we're not going to be having a bright red sauce underneath all this. I don't have any bell peppers, but I could throw in a jalapeno. We've got a slew of various spices. Okay. I think I've stumbled upon, in just looking at what I've got on hand, potentially an interesting combination. Potentially. We're going to start by slicing up that onion. Put this over here. This is still the old honing steel. The new honing steel is in the block. If you have not been following my Discord or my Instagram, I found a knife block very cheap at a thrift store. The knives were in pretty rough shape, and I had to have a couple of them reground because they were badly notched. But the whole thing was only $8, and the honing steel in the knife set, by my eye, looks completely brand new, which a completely brand new honing steel probably would cost me more than $8. So at the very least, that part was worth it. And then the knives weren't great. They were in pretty bad shape, but a free sharpening at the deli got rid of the notches, and then I can tune. Why is it so hard to peel? I can tone them up with the brand new honing steel that's in there. I suspect that's why the knives were in such bad shape. The person who previously owned them never used the honing steel or took care of them. They just used them until they were all notched and dull, and then dropped off the whole shebang at the thrift store. So that was a good find. It also has a knife I've never seen before. It's like a mini santoku. It's like a paring knife sized santoku, which is one of these guys with the tip that comes down like that and the little divots on the sides, except it's the size of a little paring knife. I'm not sure what it's for, or even what it's really called, other than mini santoku. You know what? Both of these onions, I don't like the look of that outermost layer, and getting the little flaky papers off is tedious. So I'm just going to take the whole outermost layer off of both of them and call it a loss. Then the camera. Remember last time I moved around my camera so we could see stuff. I don't know that I got it back in the same place, so our angles might be slightly off today. Get out some small glass bowls as well. Keep all my ingredients separated. I kind of want to throw these all, or maybe each separately, into a hot wok just to get some char on them. Because I don't think they'll char very well in the oven unless I blast them with the broiler. Open up a fresh bag of these guys. These guys are one of my favorite vegetables overall, just because they're so easy to use. The leafy parts definitely are going to go directly on our pizza as leafy parts. No reason to pre-cook them at all for sure. And I was asking about what did I put on pizza, and one of the ideas that was thrown at me was spinach. I don't have any spinach, but this could be similar enough. Could be. Cut that one weird. You guys are getting moved into a larger bowl. Those guys can go in that bowl. So I'm kind of making, I think I'm kind of just going to make a giant pile of vegetables, and maybe we will broil the heck out of this once we've exhausted the process. It's got to have cheese on it, not just in the crust, but on the top. We can't do a stuffed crust pizza and then have the main part of the pizza not be cheesy. I mean, I suppose we could, but I don't want to do that. Grab out some mushroom. I'm gonna give these guys a quick rinse. Just to make sure we got any dirt off the outsides of them. Now, you're supposed to, for pizzas, slice mushrooms like that, like into slices, so you get those nice, nice, perfect mushroom cross sections. For a stir fry, I would cut mushrooms into quarters. And I think I'm going to stick with the slices for this, even though we've changed our theme a bit. And I'm going to make it, I think we're going to make it very mushroomy. I think we're just going to load the heck up on it. So in that case, I do want to pre-cook some of our toppings just a bit. Because if we're going to load them up, I want them to be a little bit dried out before I put them on there so that we don't drown the whole thing. Because that'll make the crust soggy, and we don't want that. Honestly, 4 is probably going to be enough mushroom. We will do 5. And have excess mushroom. Mushroom, onion, bok choy, other bok choy. Do I want jalapeno or do I want nah jalapeno? I'm a little concerned about overloading at the moment. What I will do is take some ginger. We're going to lose the little nub off the back. We're going to try to get as shaved close to the edge as we can. That's probably enough ginger. There are a few little hard parts from where I broke the last arm off, so we're going to just go through them and nip those away. We're not bothering to peel out ginger because I don't care. Okay. Tell you what, I'm going to shrink these a little bit. I don't want giant slices. We're going to go for a matchstick. Hi. Is it Fat Tuesday today? That means tomorrow's Ash Wednesday and Valentine's Day and Lent. Also, hi, welcome in. I didn't plan anything for Fat Tuesday. What should I make for Fat Tuesday? I'm making a pizza. I guess that means I can just make this pizza as fat as I want. I don't pay attention to every holiday, even though I probably could. Well, I've changed my title. We're making a crazy fusion pizza. I'm still going to stuff the crust, but now it's going to be a crazy fusion. Now it's going to be a weird fusion nonsense. In addition. Anyways, yeah, hi, welcome in. Happy Tuesday. I wanted to be back on Monday, and I just had no appetite. I think it's because I ate lunch at a weird time yesterday. Uh, I just had no appetite for dinner. Like, I don't want to cook something and not feel excited about it. This should be a job for a mandolin. But I've already started with a knife. Plus, then I'd have to get the mandolin out. Let's split this guy the long way. So how about that Super Bowl? I heard it happened. I did not watch it or pay attention to any of the news surrounding it, except for, I guess, Taylor Swift was there and met Paul McCartney. And that's the only news I saw. Another small bowl, another little bowl. Okay. Mushrooms, onions, bok choy, ginger, garlic. I think we're going to skip out on carrot. I don't think that sounds good on a pizza, regardless of the theme we're going for. I said shrimps. We could do shrimps. We could throw just a smattering of peas on the top. Peas on pizza is a Brazilian thing, and it's one of the things I wanted to try in the whole let's try a bunch of different pizzas thing. We kind of got off track on that project. I'm going to throw some fancy mushrooms on this one. A couple of their tops fell off already. These are Canadian mushrooms. You can tell by the Canadian maple leaf that's on the package there. A lot of their little heads have fallen off. I don't really use enoki very much, so I don't know much about them. I know that they have more of a crunch. We don't need the whole package of them. And we don't need the substrate at the bottom there. or that bit of substrate. And then they kind of separate apart. I know they get put in soups, and they have more of a bite to them, more of a texture. Just gonna cut them the long way. Cut that guy the long way. And they can get sprinkled on, I guess. Get the bits here all separatey. Eesh, actually, we're gonna switch bowls because they're taking up a lot more room. I imagine they would be good in stir fry. Again, I'm not super familiar with them in general. I've found my local grocery store has recently started carrying a bunch of different mushrooms, some of which I'm familiar with, some of which I'm less familiar with. Enoki being one of them, maitake being one of them. They also have some ones that I've tried here with you, like lion's mane. They have trumpet. So we might do some more mushroom things as I fuss around with those. These specifically were picked up for the shabu shabu, and we ended up having extra. So I have extra. So they have to get used up, so they're a little bit old. Mushrooms keep pretty well in the fridge in general, so I'm not worried about them. But we can't just let them sit there and go off. They will eventually go off. Okay, I think that's all of our parts. Here's our first ad break, which means we're half hour. Yep, half hour in. I want to make a sauce. And I should have used this bowl for it, but I did not. So we're going to use the one size up from that bowl. This is bad, and I'm going to open it up. There's not much in there. Okay. I am actually going to use the dry bits, but we're going to cut this bag all the way open and just scrape it out. It was at one time white miso, but it gradually aged into red miso just because I've had it for a while. So its flavor has deepened as its color has shifted to this dark brick tone. And I just need to use it because it is, at this point, it's the very, very dregs, and I just need to use it, finish it off so I can get rid of it. Get rid of the package. So we're going to construct a sauce of a consistency that I think would go on a pizza using this old, slightly dried up miso as the flavor base. There's more in there than I thought, which is good. I thought there wasn't enough. But once you scrape the sides, miso is one of those things that, like, it just never goes bad. All it does is kind of mature into a darker form of itself. It's interesting stuff. that, for which we are going to need a whisk, a tiny whisk. And some warm water, but just a very small amount. So I need to loosen this up, and then we can re-thicken it after we've loosened it up, if we need to, with other ingredients. The miso is already salty and very savory. Actual pizza sauce is also sweet and acidic. So we can add other things. That's an unmeasured amount of tap warm water. Okay. We definitely need more. Just more. We're not going to put as much sauce on as I would if I was doing a tomato-based sauce, I think. But we do need more than that. We can, ooh, I know. We can augment. This is not the same stuff. This is Chinese, I suppose this one is Korean, but it's a Chinese style. #1 seller in Korea. It says right there. Bean paste. As long as we're adding stuff. And it's a very different flavor from miso. But as long as we're adding stuff, I did just say acidity, so let's give it a splash of rice wine. And in a pinch, I can throw in some banana ketchup if I think we need it to be more fruity or more saucy or more anything. Let's get this part stirred together. And give it a taste. Ah, it's very savory. A little bit acidic, a little bit sharp. Needs. I am going to give it a shot of banana ketchup. For one thing, it's another thing I've got hanging around that I don't use very often, so happy to use it. It is something red, so we don't have to worry about the color now as much. It's also, if we remember back to when I have used it in the past, it tastes a lot like ketchup, but it's more... It's fruity, but not sweet. And we already learned about banana being a good topping on a pizza with that Swedish pizza. So basically the same thing. Makes it more sauce consistency as well. Okay. I still think it needs more something. Not more savoriness. It needs more something. You know, this might be a chance to try out something I have not tried out. Red pepper jelly, which I picked up on a whim, and we're going to open right now. because there's no bell pepper in this, in my ingredients at the moment. This might be what we're looking for, but let's give it a taster, see what we're working with. Oh, it's spicy, which is weird because it says on the front that it's red bell peppers, but it's also spicy. Cane sugar, red bell peppers, cider vinegar, pectin, citric acid, dehydrated onions, and capsicum. So it also contains spicy peppers. It's sweet, but it's oh, that's so interesting. Ooh, I don't know where else I would use that except right here. Except literally right here. I'm throwing that in. Oh, that's fascinating. Because it's definitely sweet like a jelly, like it has added sugar. But it's got that bell pepper flavor and spiciness to it. Zizan, hello, welcome. You are first. You are officially first. Oh, and I'm being officially moistened, which I didn't even plan for, like a fool. Glass of water. Moist. Welcome, welcome. We are constructing a pizza sauce. And it is reaching a good sauce-like consistency. The last thing we added to it it's very savory. It's very savory. Possibly a little too savory. I wonder if I shouldn't have added that scoop of the Chinese bean paste. Not much I can do about that now. I don't want to add any more liquids to it. We've got a good consistency. So anything else that I add to it needs to be dry or this consistency already. So that doesn't change it too much. We're probably going to leave it as is, actually. I think we have enough to cover a pizza. Because you don't need a ton of sauce to cover a pizza. It's pretty savory, so we're going to give it a thin coat regardless. I think we're just going to call it good. Do we want anything else? Now that there's another thought available, what else do we put on our stir-fry pizza? We have mushrooms, red onions, bok choy, the tops of the bok choy, matchstick ginger, sliced garlic, enoki mushrooms. I was considering, there's going to be some green onion in it as well. I was considering shrimp and just make the top of it a heap. Our sauce there is miso, doenjang, banana sauce, rice vinegar, and red pepper jelly. And there's going to be cheese on it as well because I want this to be a pizza. You can't skip the cheese. I don't have a stir-fry themed cheese for this. I could use paneer, but paneer won't melt. So we can't use paneer as the binder to glue it all together because we'll just end up with chunks of paneer on it, which could be fun and interesting, but it is not what I'm looking for this time. We will have to revisit that. We could do that. Okay, put a pin in that one. We'll do a curry pizza with paneer sometime in the future. We do have multiple kinds of cheese to work with. I've got mozzarella cheddar, Kojak, Parmesan, pepper jack, and American singles because they were on super sale. And they're made of plastic, so they never go bad. I think that's probably, unless we're going to do shrimp. I want a yay or a nay right now from you guys in the audience. Shrimp, no shrimp. Heck, I'll do a poll. See if anybody responds. Where's the poll button? Poll. Shrimp. Shrimp. No shrimp. 2 minutes. Might be weird with cheese, might not be weird with cheese. Might be, we can find out. Anyway, there's a poll in chat. Vote in the poll. Make it official. I need to use these functions sometimes, so we're going to do that right now. And I will continue looking in my cupboard while we think. What kind of spices do we put in this? I didn't put any in the sauce because I want to sprinkle stuff on top. Other than what was already in the sauce. Oh, of course, got garlic powder, onion powder, oregano. I've got some basil. We can throw some basil in. I've got some paprika. Interesting. Shrimp is currently winning with a landslide with 1 vote. I see my efforts to drive engagement were a failure. Shrimp wins with 1 vote. Okay. Well, they're frozen, so we have to thaw them out, but that won't take long. They're a little crusty. I'm not worried about them being weird. I don't think that there is any conflict between cheese and seafood, even though I have been told not to combine cheese and seafood in the past. I've also been told not to thaw things in warm water, but it's not going to be here long enough to build up any bacteria, so we're just gonna literally thaw it and peel them immediately. Thaw and use immediately. So Should run some warm water in there. Plus, they're ice cubes, so they will bring the temperature of the water down as they thaw. Okay. We're going to shift all my vegetables aside. Say, can you hear a weird rattling or ticking noise at all? I want to know if you can, and if you can, then I have to fix it. If you can't, then I can just ignore it and fix it afterwards. The motor on my fridge is making a little buzz, and I want to take a peek. That we need to take a peek at. I fixed it. I know exactly what it is. I fixed it before, but I don't know if you can hear it. I can't use the mushroom's original packaging anymore because it does not reseal, and I'm not using all of them at once, so they're going in a bag. Set aside, set aside. Okay, you can't hear it. Great. It's the fan. It's not the motor. It's just the fan that blows over the coils in the back. Has a slight imbalance, and if I go and poke it, it rebalances. But I have to pull the fridge away from the wall to do that, so we can't do that now. We need the flower tower, which can be seen from above now. The camera did not end up in exactly the same position it was before. Because if you'll recall, we moved it last time to get a view inside the blender, and I think I've settled on it actually being slightly higher than it was before, which would be nice, because then I don't think I have to shift it around the next time I want to do something like that. Okay, and finally, our pizza dough, which I don't have the scissors handy. I think they're out by the herbs. I think I left them there last time I cut herbs. Or maybe I didn't. Or maybe I didn't. It's okay, we can cut this with a knife. Pretty easy to cut with a knife. So I took this out a couple hours ago just to let it rise on itself a little bit, and it did slightly, but it's not. There's no super warm spots in my house for it to live in, so we're kind of limited on how much rise we can get on a short term. Keep the flour tower handy. Also, let's preheat our oven to very hot. Oh, and get our rolling pin out, because we're going to roll this like we've done in the past, because that has been our most successful method of pizza-ing. with the pre-made dough. So we put a little bit on the top there, and we flour up the pin. And then we want a circle. We really want a circle this time because I want to be able to roll the edges. We're going to make a circle that's bigger than our pizza pan by quite a bit. Rolling also helps squeeze out any bubbles that have formed inside of it. We don't want bubbles because they will just form into balloons when we actually get to the baking part. I don't have quite enough room here in actuality. Last time we did pizza, I took one of these and I cut it in half. And we got 2 pizzas out of it. We can't do that this time unless I wanted to get really weird with it. I'm bumping into things that I normally have no issue bumping into because we are making this so large. Okay. Let's try getting it on the without. Okay. Okay. So we need it to be fully over the edge on every side. And we didn't end up making it properly round. But you need a lot of extra dough if you're going to do a stuffed crust. So that's where these guys come in. Now, here's a thought. Should I do whole logs for this? Or should I split these in half and do half-size logs? I think we're going with whole pieces. If I were to completely eyeball this, which I already cheated and measured it with my fingers earlier, I think it fits 8 around the edge. And then you pull Okay, we stretched it a little bit more than I needed it to, actually. Interesting. I thought we would need a lot more extra edge than we ended up needing. Okay, well, learning experience. Not sure what I'm going to do with that much extra in the interior of the pizza like that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to cheat. We're going to curl it under, which honestly is probably better for securing it. Anyways, I just didn't think I had enough to work, or as much to work with as I did. So I'm just tucking it underneath the pieces of cheese, which should give us extra security stability. So there's our crust. Ooh, you guys have moved a little bit. You live here now. You live much closer to the bottom edge of the counter than you used to. But the whole pizza fits in my workspace, so that's nice. Okay. We have an ad break right now. So before I start constructing my pizza, I'm going to take a sip of water. The cheeses have created a slight octagon. Um, bizarre fusions. Why do I do this to myself? And then we got to think of something to do while it's baking, which only takes. So our oven is hot today. View results of shrimp. See, people said yes to shrimp. See, people said yes to shrimp. So I'm going to wait on the. Actually, we are going to do what I said with some of these ingredients. So just a dab of oil. And get it blasting hot. You guys are back from the ad. So we have over there, I've put just a dab of oil, since I don't want these to be very oily at all, in a wok. We're going to get that hot. We're going to give some of these vegetables a quick pre-stir frying before I throw them on top of the pizza. While that is heating up, we're going to sauce this. And we want this to be fairly thin. The curled under dough edges here that we've got for our stuffed crust actually make a beautiful barrier to push the sauce up to. Although we have to be careful not to tear it, even with the spoon, since it's a little stretched out. Because again, I overstretched it a bit, trying to get that edge, and then we ended up having way more edge than I needed. which again, learning experience. The next one will be perfect. And then we and tuck the sauce in, snug the sauce in, all the little edges, because now there's a perfect little edge at every side for our sauce. Another question we have, do we put the cheese on top or underneath? I'm tempted to put cheese underneath for this one so that our toppings get a lot more air exposure and also make for a very pretty like pile. Maybe, theoretically, possibly. So yeah, I'm going to cheese it now. Then we will set it to the side while we prep everything else. This is just mozzarella. There have been a number of very generous sales on cheeses lately, so I have a very large variety of cheeses at my disposal. Which is another reason we need to do things like pizza, because it consumes a lot of cheese. Now, honestly, that, as is, probably already going to be a pretty good pie. Pretty good pizza pie right there. The zipper on this bag of cheese is not functional at all. The little teeth will not bind with each other. So I guess we are rolling it up instead. Tucking it in. I'm going to add a little bit of a second cheese to the top. Same brand, Pepper Jack. This one's zipper works, so it's not the brand that the zippers don't work. Our oil on our stovetop is literally smoking hot. So we're going to pop over there. This is going to be aggressive. I want like little charred edges to get started on the bok choys and the onions. And that's it. But we don't want these to be cooked. We want them, they're really cooked. We want them to be just partway cooked. Can I do the mushrooms too? Maybe. Oops. This one. We want to get this to the point where at least the onions sort of separate from each other naturally, and then we're going to take them out. And that's going to be it. I have the burner quite high, so we have to keep things moving. No, we have to not lose stuff. I think all my onions are separated, so let's get them out of there. Okay. A few little brown edges. Got that guy started. Our shrimps have probably thawed by now, so we're going to deal with them next. I don't need the flour tower anymore, so we'll get rid of the flour tower. We're going to pop back over to this angle, but we have to move the pizza. Also, my oven is hot, so we can put this in whenever it is ready. Why am I carrying the water over? Pour the water out. Okay. Shell our shrimps. Now the shrimps, put in there on the pizza raw in a 475 degree oven, will probably cook through just fine. But should we risk it, or should we give them a quick flash in the wok first? Probably wise to give them a quick flash in the wok first, just to ensure that they get fully cooked. I don't want to overcook them. If we do them in the wok, we have to just barely get them done, really. But realistically, shrimps don't take a lot of effort to cook. They should get done just in the oven. Save your shells. Do not throw away your shells. I mean, if you're not planning on making stock ever, then don't bother keeping your shells. But keeping your shells in the freezer is super easy, and it lets you make a cheap, delicious shellfish stock down the line. That one was not deveined and has his poop tube. Let's get rid of the poop tube. Don't want to eat that bit. The rest of them were deveined. So that quote-unquote vein that runs up the length of a shrimp tail is in fact the shrimp's pooper. And it's not this one, it's the one that's on the top. The one on the bottom is, I'm not sure what that is. It's a part of the, that one actually might be a vein. The quote-unquote vein is the one along the top, that the one that gets removed. And I'm splitting them lengthwise because this is pretty much what I do with shrimps all the time these days. When you cook them, they kind of form these neat little corkscrews if you split them lengthwise like this. And also, you get more bites. Oop, that one has his poop tube, some part of it at least, there as well. You get more bites of shrimp, and half a shrimp tastes exactly the same as a whole shrimp. So you end up with more bites containing shrimps. Okay. So we're going to give the shrimps a really quick tossy toss in the wok just to pink them up before I throw them on the pizza. But they don't need to be cooked super thoroughly. They just need to be barely cooked because they'll definitely finish in the process. My hand is slightly wet, so I can't. My hand is slightly wet, which makes it harder to gauge the heat of the wok. But this should start sizzling. Nope. It was cooler than I thought it was. I attribute to the wet hand. They are sizzling slightly. Okay. Cutting board, I think, is done and can be removed to the outskirts. The pizza can be returned to the place of honor there. And our shrimp is done. It was just that fast. It was just that fast. Which is why I think they would have cooked just fine if I just put them on there raw. And I think that's all of our ingredients. So let's start assembling. Mix things together so they're really stirred. I think the enoki mushrooms are going to give us the illusion of strands of cheese, even though they're not going to melt. I like that. I enjoy the prospect of that. Really load this beast up, like I said. Deposit our shrimps, our barely cooked shrimps. And then the final exciting bits are going to be all of our spices. So I sliced this garlic so that I could sprinkle garlic over the top of this thing haphazardly and aggressively and get garlic everywhere. And the same thing with the ginger. Possibly too much ginger, but I guess we'll find out. Um, I'm adding some basil. I'm adding some. We add some oregano. I think we add a little bit. Oregano. No. Let's get the oregano. Basil, I think, crosses. Black pepper, actually. Basil crosses over cuisines a lot more than oregano does. I'm going to add a little bit of our gochugaru, which is a Korean dry pepper flake. And then I think we're going to put it in the oven and trust it. Put it in the oven and trust it. While it's in there, tidy up. Oh, before I put it in the oven and trust it. Oh, and I put the cutting board away already. I put these leaves behind. Do they look tacky? I think they do. I'm going to tear them up. They were behind something and I almost forgot them. I would have seen them during the tidying up phase. Been like, oh no, I forgot the bok choy tops. Okay, well they disrupt my top a little bit, but not too bad. Let's call it good and slide it in the oven. Okay. We have a few left because I didn't want to overload the top with them. They're going to wilt down a lot in the old baking process, but they aren't going to turn black like fresh basil would, so I feel good about putting them in to bake with the rest of it. Put that cheese away. So, what are you guys having for dinner? Or lunch, or breakfast, or whatever time of day it is at various places in the world. We had somebody from, I checked the time zones, and they're either in the Indian Ocean or in Central Asia, like that strip. We had somebody come in from that, and I didn't ask exactly where they were from, but we have people from all over the world, I guess, because it was breakfast where they were. We definitely have a modicum of cleanup today. This always happens when we do a pizza, though, or anything where I have to flour the worktop. I end up having to. Fortunately, my trash is right off the screen, directly off screen right, so I can do a scrape down right into the trash with very little risk of dropping it on the floor. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that works too. That's the part that we are most experiment. Well, the whole thing's an experiment. I think the crust, the edge of the crust might be a little bit thicker than I was intending on account of making the overhang too much. So we'll see. So we'll see. We're going to cut up a green onion while things are baking. I don't have a timer set. We're just going to eyeball it. And I might even shoot it with the broiler at the end if I think that the toppings need more toasting. The cheese is hidden underneath all those toppings, so we're looking at a sort of, I don't know what this is going to look like when it comes out. I ended up not cheesing on top of any of those things at all, which is the opposite of how I typically make pizza. But it makes all of our toppings stand out. It should let them get a lot more heat exposure. Just heard my phone make a noise in the other room. Don't know what that noise was. Exciting noises. Exciting phone noises. But yeah, take the opportunity to put a few things away. You guys can look at me for a minute. We could also make something while the pizza is baking. It's only been an hour and a half. We've got plenty of extra time if we wanted to make a side dish. Ooh, well, there's a lot of vegetables on this pizza already. I was just about to say that Swedish pizza salad. That Swedish pizza salad was really quite good, and I really quite liked it with the pizza. But that was a very different pizza. This one's already a vegetable pile. Having more vegetables on the side might not be the best. But we're gonna put some dishes away from the last wash I just did. Since I'm definitely going to be making more. Well, I've already made more. There'll definitely be more washed in my future. I can see it. The oven temperature for this project was based on the recommendation on the pre-made pizza dough itself. I normally actually don't listen to that, and I go for a slightly lower temperature, which takes for a longer bake, but I really want my toppings to clatter. I really want my toppings to get a toastiness, if possible. Slightly burnt edges. Okay, that's all the stuff put away. I don't think I'm going to do washing right now because that would involve me just standing over there with my back turned at you. We have an ad coming up in just a few seconds. That would have been a good time to put all that stuff away. Oh, well. Oh, well. Do I want to think about an accompaniment? The thing is, a pizza usually doesn't need an accompaniment because a pizza is itself a complete, at least the way Americans make pizza, is itself a complete dish. It's got all the elements you want self-contained. It's one of the things that makes pizza so popular. You can just get a pizza and then have pizza, and then you're satisfied, and you've also gotten a relatively balanced combination of sometimes just bread, cheese, meat, and tomato sauce. But people call tomato sauce a vegetable, so even though they're wrong, they do call it that. There's the ad. I cut up the green onion so I can throw some green onion on top at the end, which I do with green onion in stir fry as well. I throw it in right at the end so that it maintains its freshness. Oh, a bit of a sneeze. Didn't want to come, and it still didn't. Let's see. My camera station is ready for action. I could talk about this knife block that I got while we're waiting. Let me go grab the knife block real quick. Come here, knives. Come to me. A knife block. Here it is. So normally, I'm not an advocate of knife blocks. I say buy individual knives because the knives you'll get in one of these things generally not worth the asking price for a whole knife block. This beastie, welcome back from the ad. This beastie, if we can tip it over without everybody falling out, was only $8 for the entire knife block and all the knives. Now the knives were not in good shape. I took them to be re-ground because the edges were very, very notched. There are also these metal handle ones, which are not my favorite. But the brand is a reasonable brand. There's a lot of variety of things in here. That's the chef's knife, which every knife block has. It has a short serrated knife, which is interesting, that looks super unused as well. This was, no, not that one, that's the paring knife. I had that one reground as well. It has a slicer, which is actually a knife type I don't have at the moment that I am happy with. I have this one, but I guess I don't like the way that this has this little heel, because I want to be able to really get it flat down. Which this guy, now he was reground a little bit, so he's developed a slight heel since then, but it's a very, very slight, and it wasn't intentionally there. This one, though, so you can just kind of flatten the whole thing down. I think that might actually be the one I use the most from this block, is this long slicer. This thing I don't know what the purpose of this is. Maybe for cutting tomatoes. Maybe it's it's a Santoku. It's got the little things. It's got the point that goes down, but it's it's tiny. It's paring blade size. I've never seen that particular knife before. Um, Actual kitchen shears, so I don't have to use my utility scissors. That could also come in super handy. And the part that really impressed me, and this is going to be the reason the blades were in such terrible condition. This is, of course, the honing steel. I just used one earlier. It's slightly smaller than my existing one and has a slightly smaller handle. But if you measure just the parts, it's even slightly smaller if you line it up like that. So it's not greatest, but completely unused. Like there's nothing in the ridges at all. There's nothing in the ridges at all. It's completely brand new, which is why the knives were in such bad shape. The person who previously owned this never touched the honing steel and let their knives go to heck. So for the $8, a brand new honing steel probably would have cost me $8 or more anyways. And then it's got a bunch of these little sort of just generalized knives, which I can maybe see using them if I've got to cut a bunch of stuff. I don't know. This was my most recent find. I posted about it on Instagram and on my Discord. I would never suggest buying a knife block at retail price, at asking price. And the ones you'll find at thrift stores are typically like this one, where the knives are in rough shape because they have not been taken care of. The knives that are in one of these blocks are typically quite cheap as well, which means they're harder to take care of. They will wear down, they'll chip faster, which is no reason not to buy a block. If you want cheap knives, buy individual cheap knives, not a whole big block of them. But again, this one was discounted by such a large degree that it was worth it to me. And I haven't actually washed them yet, so we can't cut anything with them because I don't trust them. I'm going to wash my hands now before I touch any additional food, because all of that has happened with them is I brought them home, sharpened them up, and took some back out to have the edges ground because they were too notched for me to deal with. Which, I don't even know how you notch kitchen knives that badly unless you're doing like sword fighting with them or something. They should never be hitting anything metal, anything hard enough to take notches out of the blade like that. It was weird. And if you do end up with a dull or notched blade, check with a local butcher deli. They might offer a sharpening service because they have the grinders on hand for their own knives. For me, the Festival Foods deli, no, butcher counter offers free knife sharpening while you shop. So you drop them off, you do your shopping, you come back, you pick your knives up. And it's not super fancy. It's literally just they have a grinder and they run it through it's a pre-beveled grinder and they grind it. But whoa! Oh my god! Oh my god! I wish you could see that. I'm not taking it out yet. We may have had a slight crust rupture. It is contained on the pan. We're not having an oven disaster, but we may have had a slight crust rupture. I think I also might not have squeezed all the air out of part of the crust. Oh my. Oh my. Okay. I'm sure it will still be delicious, but But oh my. um, Actually, you are going to get to peek at it because we're going to take it out so I can add the green onions to it and put it back in. So, brace thyself. Oh, I can't get a hold of it. I can't get a hold of it. Come on. It's heavy. But I can't get a hold of the edge of the pan. What are you doing? Why is the pan so... There we go. Okay. You're too bright. Nobody can see anything. So, the crust has puffed up like crazy on multiple sides. Ruptured here, here, here. Didn't rupture there, but it clearly wanted to. And our ruptures have pushed the cheese and all the toppings toward the middle and formed a bit of a lake. I've added some green onion, and we're putting it back in. Top rack this time. Okay. It's gonna be a mess, I think, to eat. It looks like it's gonna be real soupy on the inside. Yes, I pointed at where the cheese leaked out of the ruptures. It leaked out of the ruptures towards the middle of the pizza. Maybe doing such a complicated topping scheme was not ideal for the stuffed crust. And I also think that, remember when I said when I was putting the cheeses on, like, I wonder if I should cut these in half and do just half sticks around the edge instead of full sticks? And then I said, nah, we'll just do the full sticks. I think I should have done the half sticks. This is going to be a very, very cheesy thing. It doesn't want to be in there much longer at this point. I just wanted the green onions to get a little bit of heat on them before I eat them. We might have a soggy crust in the middle as well because it was a bit of a lake. It was a bit soupy in the middle. I tried cooking on. I wonder if I should have cooked off the mushrooms a little bit just to get some of the water out of them. Well, I'm sure it will taste nice regardless. How could it not? It's going to be a heap of cheese. It's going to be a heap of cheese. Well, the cheese will form a lake and then solidify. There was something in there that was just like bubbling like water. So it's not just a lake of cheese. There's some liquidy component in there as well, and I am concerned that that might prevent the crust from hardening. We might end up with a soup, one of those floppy soup pizzas, which would be a little bit of a shame. But there's nothing I can do about it at this point. Rocker 0057. Drop by and say hello. Love supporting streams. Traveling in an airport. Glad you could stop by. I don't know how much you have managed to catch so far. But if you can stick around for just a moment longer, I am going to pull this thing out and take a peek at the bottom, which means we'll get to see the top again. So here it comes again. So our crust on the top is nice and brown. But you can, you probably can't quite see. We've got like little boiling volcanoes here, 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 that look, and the whole middle looks a bit like a soup. I can make a pool form on one side by sort of draining it off. I think our toppings were too wet, so we have a little bit of a soup. If we're lucky, well, that's why I wanted to pre-toast them. I'm thinking it might be the mushrooms. It's probably a combination. Probably a combination of all of it. But I wanted to take a look at the bottom. And see if the middle bottom is, because our outer crust is done. Like, I'm not putting this guy back in at this point. We'll burn the crust. Let's see if it... the bottom's intact. In fact, the whole thing lifts up. The whole thing lifts up evenly. So there might be a lake in the middle, but our bottom crust is stable, at least for the time being. And that's a good sign. So because I can't show you the bottom. I had to lean down to get it, but you can see when I get under it and lever it up, the middle doesn't, like a little trickle over there, but the middle doesn't like fall out of it. I wish I could pour off that liquid, because I really don't want that to live in there if I can help it. That'll make it go soggy over time. Even the toasty bottom will hold it together if there's too much floating around in it. I'm worried stuff will fall off if I tip it too far, though. Tell you what. Since it does kind of pool to one side when I lift it up, let's get under it again. Lift it up. Do that thing people do with their greasy pepperonis, but with our soup, and kind of drain a little bit of it off. Okay. The crust, now we had ruptures here, here, and here, and here, where the cheese from the edge pushed toward the middle. This guy just ballooned up. You're on the wrong angle for him, but if I rotate him like so, you can see that the opposite sides here have really poofed up quite a lot. We want to get this guy while he's still pretty hot, though, because we do want to try that cheese pull. So I'm going to grab a photo of it on the board here, or on the stove here, before I try cutting it. We have a new camera. You may have noticed an uptick in the quality of my photos. It's because we have a new camera in the house. I decided it was time to invest in a new phone. We got to get that guy off of there so I can cut it and not use this board because we've used that before. That board's too small for a pizza. We need the green screen board for the pizzas. And then we need to get the pizza off of its pan without breaking it apart. Which was very easy. Wow. Okay. Slide on over. That's the beast. That is the beast. It smells good. It smells, I can really smell the ginger and the miso sauce. I think our shrimps should have gone on there raw. They have gotten a bit shriveled up and dried out in the baking. I should have just trusted that they would bake through fine and put them on raw. That's on me. I even called myself out while I was doing it. But we need my pizza circle and a plate. Ordinary white plate. Do I want to cut right through that big guy there and deflate him, or do I want to go for... Stuff's not cutting real well. There's a little soup happening. Yeah, a little bit too moist. A little bit too moist. Let's get a piece out. It does still hold together. We're not having structural failure. Well, we're going to slide the whole thing to the side. I'm going to see how well of a cheese pull we can get if I tear the crust. It's hot. Good cheese pull on our crust. And I can pick it up as a pizza. The bottom crust is thin but stable. The toppings all want to fall off. They're not glued together very well. Oh my God. Oh, hot. Oh. Okay, all right. Thing one, it's hot. What I was expecting, but also it was hot. It's really tasty. It's extremely cheesy. Even the part that I I didn't even get to the crust part yet. Just that middle part, very cheesy. Um, but the flavors that I'm running through, it hits you with the ginger. It hits you with the miso sauce. Those are the two things that jump out at me first. The miso sauce is this really fun, sort of sweet savory thing. I don't really like it by itself, but I don't like pizza sauce by itself, so that kind of makes sense. The enoki mushrooms maintained their texture in the baking, which is interesting. They've got this sort of fibrous crunch to them. The shrimps, even though they got kind of dried out and shriveled up a little bit, very taste like shrimp. Like when you bite into the shrimp, you get that taste of shrimp. The toppings don't want to stay put, which is a little bit of an issue. So it's hard to get a bite of everything. And we do have a little bit of an integrity issue where it's trying to form a hinge, kind of, right where the crust meets the main body. The ginger gives it a really like sharp spice too. There's quite a lot of ginger on it, which I like, but it's very forward. I think we would do a little bit less ginger next time. Ooh, and it evolves yet again, because the cheese in the crust is of course a different cheese from the cheese in the middle, and it burst out and kind of flowed into the middle. So we just hit a little edge of that cheese, and it's smoky, because these were, I don't know if you noticed the packaging, I did not call it out while I was putting them on there, but we used smoked string cheese for the crust, which honestly probably should have helped direct my building and made like a barbecue chicken pizza or something, but whatever. You can't hold me down. You can't tell me what to do. It's really tasty. It eats like a pizza. It's cheesy like a pizza, but the flavors, they don't strike me as stir fry flavors, but they really strike me as sort of Asian flavors. Like we have it tastes like Asian fusion cuisine, because it just tastes like sort of generically Asianish. I know that's a bit racist, probably, but you know, it's the flavors that are coming out at me are the spices of Southeast Asia. But let's get further up into this smoky cheese and see if things change. Ingredients keep falling off. The crust is definitely retaining more heat than the middle part, but it's cooled off enough that I'm not burning myself on this bite. Mmm. Interestingly, the smokiness of the cheese is more subtle in the crust part than the part that burst out. And I wonder if that's because it was shielded and that the part that got exposed to the open oven may have like enhanced the smokiness. Interesting. I think we should have done half or possibly even quarter-sized cheese sticks in the crust, just because, well, I mean, look at the size of that balloon that formed. But also, I shouldn't have stretched out so much extra crust. I think we could have made do with substantially less extra crust, even with the amount of cheese I did use. And I feel like, having eaten that crust like that, the middle of the pizza, the toppings we used, I like a lot. I don't think they go with the stuffed crust. I think the stuffed crust wants, weirdly enough, it wants more vegetables. The stuffed crust, I think, wants a more, like, veggie pizza in the middle. Or a barbecue pizza in the middle. Possibly because it's the smoked cheese for the barbecue pizza. Um, so I don't think that it's odd. It's like it's two different dishes. It's like it's cheese stuffed breadsticks and the weird stir fry thing in the middle. It's giving me thoughts. It's giving me ideas. I will definitely eat it. I'm turning my nose up at it at all. It's actually really good. It's like it's two good things. It's two separate good things. And they're not mixed together. They're just kind of stuck to each other. So I guess that's where we're landing with it. Um, which fine. I guess I could have predicted that. I wasn't originally going to make this crazy mishmash for the main pizza. I just was looking at what I had on hand and was like, you know, we could do a weird stir fry pizza topping to go with this. 'Cause the only thing I came into this today with was stuffed crust pizza. That's it. Um, so yeah, this is giving me ideas. I would take the stuffed crust pizza in one direction, and I would take the stir fry pizza in a different direction. They're both good. They can both be iterated upon, and they both would do better without the other part attached to them. Um, yeah, I guess that's my verdict. I made two good. I made two. I made. I made a dish and a side dish that don't really go together, and they are unfortunately attached. But the flavors don't step on each other because they are kind of just next to each other like this. I feel like I'm rambling, so I should probably wrap us up. Does that sound right? We have an ad approaching. My ad is about to start. All my things just popped up and said ad approaching. Ad's about to start. Warning, ad. Um, I guess let's snooze that ad and find somewhere to raid because I think I've given my verdict. I have done this with pizzas in the past where I can get my nice glamour shots uh, at the end. The cheese does solidify and lose its cheese pull pretty quickly. Oop! And it's attached to the toppings in a really awkward way because of the explosion. But the cheesy breadsticks of the crust are very nice by themselves. So I guess just eat the pizza up to the crust and then eat the crust. That's the lesson. See who's on at 6:30. A lot of people on at 6:30. My list has been growing recently too, so is it too repetitive to raid LaFay again? No, never. Never too much LaFay. We can never have too much LaFay. So, that was our show. Thanks for watching. This has given me thoughts. We will put a pin in both of those thoughts and stash them away for future pizzas. Because like I said, I think I have two working ideas here. They just shouldn't be glued to each other like this. But yeah. Up next, preview of things to come. Possibly kiwis. I have bought some kiwis. Maybe I'll just eat them, but kiwis. Otherwise, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the follow. Got a new follower, which I don't have an alert for. I just say it at the end. Yeah. It's too late. The countdown's about to hit. Message me if you want a link to my Discord. And also follow me on Instagram. It's my same name that I've got here. See you next time. Hopefully Thursday. Maybe Friday. Maybe both. And then we push the stop streaming button.